Before the drama, before the sudden announcement, Heather Storm was the undeniable face of Garage Squad. When she first appeared on the show, audiences weren't sure what to expect. She wasn't a mechanic in the traditional sense. She wasn't a long-time fixture of the Chicago car scene. But what she brought was something entirely different, and it changed the dynamic of the show from the very first season she joined. Heather's path to Garage Squad wasn't straightforward. Before stepping into the spotlight of the garage, she had been building a career across lifestyle, television, travel, and hosting. She had a way of making complex topics relatable, whether it was fitness, cocktails, or cars. That versatility gave her a unique edge. She wasn't pretending to be something she wasn't. Instead, she leaned into her genuine curiosity and enthusiasm for automotive culture, which audiences quickly picked up on. On screen, she became the glue that held episodes together. While Joe Zolper and the crew handled the heavy wrenching, Heather was the bridge between the garage and the families whose vehicles were being rescued. She was the one who could sit across the table, hear their stories, and bring out the emotional core of each episode. For viewers at home, Heather wasn't just another presenter. She was their voice inside the show, asking the questions they wanted answered, celebrating the victories, and empathizing with the struggles. Her presence also gave Garage Squad something that set it apart from other male-dominated garage shows. She balanced toughness with warmth, wit with professionalism. Fans described her as approachable, authentic, and quick with a smile, or a sharp comeback when the guys gave her a hard time. She wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty, but she also knew how to keep the bigger picture in focus. That the heart of the show wasn't just about fixing cars, but about restoring memories and honoring the people behind them. By the time she settled into her role, Heather Storm wasn't just part of Garage Squad. She was the face of it, and millions of viewers tuned in as much for her presence as for the builds themselves. Heather Storm's role on Garage Squad went far beyond turning a wrench or standing in front of the camera. What set her apart, and what cemented her as a true fan favorite, was her ability to connect. In a world where most garage shows focused heavily on horsepower, parts, and flashy transformations, Heather made sure that the heart of the story never got lost. She was the one who asked families why their car mattered. She was the one who sat in living rooms, listened to memories of fathers, uncles, or spouses who once drove these machines, and translated those emotions into something viewers felt deeply. Every episode became more than just about metal and engines. It was about people. Fans felt like Heather was speaking for them. She was the bridge between the hardcore mechanics and the everyday person watching at home. And that connection wasn't scripted. Behind the scenes, Heather often spent extra time talking to families, listening to their stories, and bringing details to the producers that might have otherwise gone unnoticed. This human side of Garage Squad was what gave the show its staying power, and Heather was its emotional anchor. Fans wrote on social media that she felt genuine, like a friend in the garage, and someone who truly cared about the people, not just the cars. While other automotive personalities could sometimes come across as larger than life, Heather was approachable. She made the garage feel welcoming, and her presence reminded viewers that the builds weren't just about horsepower. They were about memories being rebuilt, too. By the time Garage Squad entered its 4th and 5th seasons, Heather Storm wasn't just a host. She was a central figure of the brand. Viewers tuned in not only to see what car would be saved each week, but also to watch Heather's dynamic with the crew and the families. She brought balance to a show that could have easily slipped into just another gearhead program. Her popularity skyrocketed online. Fans flooded Facebook pages, forums, and comment sections with praise. Many argued that her mix of professionalism, humor, and relatability made her the perfect counterweight to the raw energy of the mechanics. Heather had carved out her space in a genre often dominated by loud personalities and male hosts. She didn't try to outshout anyone. She simply showed up, did her job with authenticity, and earned respect both on screen and off. She also proved her versatility by participating in all aspects of production, whether helping in the garage, negotiating with families, or setting up storylines that gave episodes their heart. Heather wasn't afraid to get dirty, but she also kept the show grounded. This balance made her stand out from the pack of other TV hosts, many of whom relied on scripted catchphrases or flashy personas. As the ratings grew, Heather became more than just the host. She became part of the reason why fans saw Garage Squad as different. Her popularity became undeniable, and for a time, it looked like her place on the show was unshakable. Then came the moment that blindsided everyone. In 2019, the network dropped the news. Heather Storm would not be returning to Garage Squad. There was no long goodbye, no final farewell episode. Just a sudden announcement that left fans reeling. Almost immediately, backlash exploded across social media. Forums lit up with confusion, anger, and disappointment. Fans demanded answers. Why would the producers drop one of the most beloved parts of the show? Some accused the network of making a terrible mistake, while others speculated that there must have been drama behind the scenes. For many viewers, Heather was the emotional backbone of Garage Squad. Without her, they feared the show would lose its unique spark. Petitions circulated online calling for her return. Even casual fans admitted the chemistry and balance of the crew wouldn't be the same without her. The way it was handled only added fuel to the fire. Instead of a clear explanation, the network's official statement was vague. They claimed the show was going in a different direction. But that line raised more questions than answers. What direction? Why cut out the very person who had made the show so relatable? To fans, the announcement didn't just mark Heather's exit. It felt like a betrayal. And it sparked the beginning of a mystery that viewers would continue to debate for years to come. When fans demanded clarity on why Heather Storm left Garage Squad, the network's answer was short and simple. The show was moving in a new direction. It was a vague line that left more questions than it answered. On paper, it sounded like the kind of corporate statement designed to shut down speculation. But instead of calming fans, it only stirred them up further. What exactly was this new direction? For some, the explanation rang hollow. After all, the formula of Garage Squad hadn't changed. It was still about rescuing neglected cars and rebuilding family dreams. The core cast remained, and the show kept its same small-town, community-driven appeal. So why was Heather singled out? Insiders close to the production hinted that the official reason was only scratching the surface. Some suggested the producers wanted to freshen up the cast to keep things feeling new. Others believed the show's growing popularity meant executives wanted to steer it more toward shop-focused content and less toward the family interactions Heather excelled at. Whatever the case, the official statement was careful, too careful. It avoided blame, downplayed her departure, and gave no real insight into the decision-making process. For Heather's fans, this lack of transparency only made the wound deeper. To them, the new direction excuse wasn't just unsatisfying, it felt like an insult to her contribution. Heather had helped build the show's identity, and the idea that she was suddenly no longer a fit didn't sit right. If anything, the silence behind the scenes spoke louder than the words the network put out. Behind the carefully worded press release, whispers of creative disagreements began to surface. According to multiple accounts, there had been tension brewing over what Garage Squad should be. Heather's strength was her ability to highlight people and stories. She pulled the emotional threads that gave weight to each build. Producers, however, were reportedly leaning toward a faster, flashier format. Less talk, more torque. That shift created friction. Heather, true to her personality, wasn't one to fake enthusiasm or play a role she didn't believe in. If she felt the soul of the show was being sacrificed for pacing or ratings, she said so. Some insiders suggested her pushback didn't always sit well with the higher-ups. In the world of reality television, that kind of honesty can be a double-edged sword. There were also rumors of disputes over screen time. Heather's growing popularity meant viewers wanted to see more of her, but producers worried the balance of the cast was tipping. What was supposed to be an ensemble show risked becoming centered on one person. And that wasn't the vision the network wanted to sell. These creative differences weren't explosive fights or tabloid-level feuds. They were quieter, more insidious tensions, a clash between authenticity and marketability, between storytelling and production goals. And in the end, it seems those differences may have played a major role in the decision to part ways. As Garage Squad continued filming, cracks in the production environment reportedly began to show. Long hours in the garage, grueling shooting schedules, and the pressure to deliver made the atmosphere stressful. For Heather, who balanced her on-camera role with behind-the-scenes prep and family interactions, the strain was especially heavy. Crew members later suggested that the combination of tight deadlines and creative disagreements created friction between Heather and certain producers, while the rest of the cast respected her work ethic and easygoing presence. Not everyone in the control room appreciated her straightforward approach. When the cameras were off, there were reports of miscommunications and even occasional clashes about how much focus should go to families versus the cars themselves. There were also whispers of scheduling conflicts. As Heather's popularity grew, so did her outside commitments. Guest appearances, travel, and other projects that may have complicated the already tight filming windows. For a show like Garage Squad, which thrived on a fast turnaround, this created logistical headaches. None of these issues were dramatic enough to make headlines at the time, but taken together, they painted a picture of rising tension. And while Heather remained professional in front of the camera, insiders say the pressure behind it all was becoming harder to ignore. For fans, the biggest surprise wasn't just that Heather Storm was leaving Garage Squad. It was how suddenly it happened. Reports later suggested it wasn't Heather's choice at all. Instead, insiders claimed the decision came from higher up, blindsiding not only her, but even some of the cast. The announcement dropped with little warning, and unlike many television departures where the outgoing star gives a farewell interview, Heather was given no such spotlight. It felt abrupt, almost surgical, like producers wanted to move forward without opening the door for questions. That silence was deafening. Behind the curtain, some insiders whispered about executive decisions made in boardrooms, not garages. Allegedly, certain network figures believed the show needed a refresh to boost ratings. Rather than reshaping the format or adjusting production, they chose the more dramatic move: replace the most recognizable cast member. For viewers, it was a gut punch. Online forums exploded with outrage and social media filled with demands for Heather's return. Many insisted that she brought heart and relatability to a program that might otherwise feel like just another car show. And yet, despite all the noise, the producers stayed quiet, leaving fans with the unsettling feeling that the real story was being kept under wraps. In the world of reality television, the truth often hides between the lines. And here, the real shocker wasn't just Heather's exit. It was the way it all happened. Sudden, unexplained, and deeply suspicious to the fans who loved her. For Heather Storm, leaving Garage Squad wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Instead of fading into the background, she leaned into her own passions, proving that her success wasn't tied to any one show. Shortly after her departure, Heather launched Drive Yourself Local, a travel meets car series where she explored small towns across America in her classic Mustang. It was a project that showcased her independence, her adventurous spirit, and her genuine curiosity about people and places. Unlike the fast-paced environment of Garage Squad, this was her show, her vision, and fans noticed the difference. Heather also built a strong presence online, producing digital content and connecting with her audience directly. Her social media platforms became a place where she shared travel stories, car adventures, and lifestyle tips. For fans who missed her on Garage Squad, it was a welcome reminder that Heather was more than just a TV personality. She was a creator in her own right. She also took on speaking engagements, hosted events, and lent her voice to projects outside of television. In doing so, she proved that stepping away from a hit show didn't mean stepping out of the spotlight. If anything, she had more control over her career than ever before. For Heather, life after Garage Squad wasn't about clinging to the past. It was about proving she could thrive on her own terms. Years later, Garage Squad is still on the air, but fans continue to debate whether it ever fully recovered from the Heather Storm's departure. Some argue that the show lost its heart when she left, becoming more mechanical and less human. Others defend the cast that followed, but even they admit the chemistry Heather brought was unique. Her legacy isn't just tied to the show, it's tied to the way she shifted expectations for women in automotive TV. In a genre dominated by grease-stained hands and horsepower, Heather stood out by combining knowledge with empathy. She wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty, but she also understood that every car had a story, and that's what made viewers care. The debate continues. Did the producers make a mistake by letting her go? Or was it simply the natural evolution of a long-running series? What's undeniable is the impact she left behind. Heather became more than just a co-host. She became a symbol of authenticity in a world often accused of being scripted and staged. Today, Heather Storm's name is still brought up every time Garage Squad is mentioned. And while the show carries on, her absence is a reminder that sometimes the heart of a series isn't in the builds or the engines. It's in the person who made it all feel real.